Welcome to Rauta. This video is done in commercial collaboration with our sponsor, Steelfest. Hello guys and gals and welcome to Rauta's non-metal reviews. This time it's all about industrial and this time we can really go back in time to 1980s Sweden. Maschinenzimmer 412, I don't know how to say it in German, maybe it's something like Wir ein, zwei, something like that. But later on, just MZ412 is one of those really cult classic names coming from Sweden, which then again paved the way for a lot of artists operating in this kind of a more martial industrial ways. And Macht, Durch, Stimme, I don't know about the pronunciation though, is one of those cult albums that probably ring a bell to a lot of old timers following the scene and all that stuff, but maybe not so much present with the more, say, newer generation. Anyway, this classic album released by Cold Spring has totally deserved its attention because first of all this one is indeed old as it comes, and everything goes back in time when this came out. Like here it is said, like came out in 1988, and as you can imagine that is a long time ago, and back then obviously this kind of underground marginal instrumental industrial wasn't really much of a thing. So obviously this is one of those pioneer bands or artists in so many ways. Later on they changed the name from the long one to the shorter one, which is probably the more known version for a lot of bands. So in this case you're wondering why Maschinenzimmer is later on just MZ. There's the reason with the lineup changes and all that stuff, at least according to the information I read. So if I have mistakes, call me guilty. Now this one is an interesting case because while I say it's instrumental, it's not purely that. There are kind of distorted spoken parts, lots of hissing and buzzing noises, and there's certain kind of element of danger present throughout the album. It's not maybe as military or martial as some of the other artists later on or even their later releases, but there is a certain kind of feeling that something dangerous is about to happen. Yet at the same time it's less musical than some other artists coming from Sweden and beyond roughly put into the same box of creating this martial industrial whatever. I'm no expert in these kind of subgenres, so pardon if I'm using the incorrect words. That's kind of a given. I've always kind of gone along the lines with these kind of bands. I mean, a lot of friends who are operating in industrial power electronics, noise, and dark ambient scenes. But let's be honest, even though I got to listen to these kind of acts since like roughly mid late 90s or so, I never got too much going on with them. But I kind of always kept fascinated myself with these acts because I mean they had a lot of same things going on with metal bands. Their used language was just a tad bit different. Now that being said, I never got too deep into Maschinenzimmer or MZ412, and I guess for that reason I felt like doing a virgin run with this album. To be honest, I have no idea if I have been listening to this back in say late 90s, early 2000s or so. I think not. I think I have only heard the later ones, and as such this felt so fresh to me, even though it was released more than 30 years ago. Now this being said, this is a fascinating album for running more than 30 minutes, but less than 40. And throughout the course of action, this is kind of a simple music in a way. I think it's good because it stays consistent throughout the tracks, being this kind of industrial with the element of danger which I described, but there is now too many surprise elements which can essentially turn this album a little bit dull experience. I'm guessing because actually a lot of people probably will like it for the reasons that it's not changing too much. In my opinion, it's both a good and a bad thing. Good thing in the sense that, yeah, it's consistent, it's not too much changing over the course, which is then again meaning like if you like certain tracks, you're probably gonna end up liking the whole deal here. Then again, people who feel this is like a too dull, they're probably not for the given genre to begin with. Now, overall, I would say this album has stood the test of time. It's a good industrial album in the sense of doing its own style, pioneering and all that stuff. But if you're going to ask me, are the better acts coming from martial industrial or death industrial scene, I would say, yeah, at least better than this particular album, because in my opinion, it's not the kind of stuff that triggers me properly. And by triggering, I don't mean, getting angry and all that stuff and ranting online, but, more like if I'm getting the proper good feeling out of it. So, in my opinion, this is kind of a good, but also kind of like too monotone for my liking. But then again, I'm not really the core target audience for these kind of albums to begin with, so that is my disclaimer why I'm not praising this as much as I probably should, according to the people liking the particular genres or subgenres. Overall, pretty interesting an album, and I think it deserves attention. So if you're new to the given substyles of industrial, this is something that you need to check out, and then you can move on. At least this is basically like listening to Black Sabbath in terms of, listening to metal and figuring out whether or not you are up for what the pioneers have to offer and all that stuff. This is my sales pitch for the album, so check it out or check it out. Not up to you, but at least now you know about it. Thanks for watching, and see you soon with more non-metal reviews coming away.